some point, I feel like maybe limiting the amount of levels a kid can cross over. Maybe you can't cross over more than 2 levels. If you're a 5 kid, you can't cross to a 3 team or a 2 team or something like that. I mean, I don't know.
One of the things about that, as people have said, what if I only have a 5 and 3 team? I don't have a 4. I need them to cross over from 3 to 5. That's one of the arguments for that. Anybody got any thoughts on that?
I just wish it was standardized, and that's what I think you're trying to do, the crossovers. So tell me if I can't go from level 5 down to 3, you know, but don't tell me that I can at all of them except NCA and except at, you know what I mean?
Oh, I see you mean standardized from event to event.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying.
Because then you've got a kid crossing over, and now you can't go to an event because you're using that child because of an injury or whatever.
Right.
And now you can't go, and now that kid feels responsible, you know, and if you say all year long, look, we can't cross you over from this to this, then that's fine, but then don't just make it a few events that don't let you.
Because I've heard a lot of talk about these recreational type divisions or all-star show rec divisions, and one of the things that I had a concern about was, you know, if that comes up, to maybe consider the standardization of crossovers from per se all-star to these rec or half-season programs. I'm not against them because someone could get injured. But if you're taking 75% all-stars to 2 or 3 of the regular rec kids, you know, with whether you're big gym or small gym, I think it becomes an unfair situation and an unlevel playing field for people that truly are a rec, that truly cannot keep up because they don't train at the same level of hours. 1 or 2 is okay. Someone gets injured, I've had it happen, but you know, when you've got a situation where over 50% is regular all-star and they're competing against kids that are rec, I think that provides a negative experience for the recreational kids.
I know one of the issues that we've talked about is, I don't necessarily have a problem with the crossing over from one level to the other, because I understand small gyms, some of them have a 2 and a 5, I understand that. My problem is that physically we are using the anaerobic capacity of our bodies to do 1 routine, and then we have people doing 3 and 4 routines. And I think the limit should be not necessarily on crossovers, but on the amount of teams that you cross over to.
As in a child should only be allowed to do 2 routines per day.
I think only 2.
Am I reading you right?
Yes, because we use, our routines are made of a 27% aerobic, 73% anaerobic capacity, which uses everything that our body has to give on 1 routine, and then we ask them to do it again. And I think when we ask them to do it a 3rd time, we are wrong.
You monitor how many individuals they're doing, as well as how many cheer teams, and then they're doing best stunt, now duo, they're doing a dance trio, they're doing 2 teams, they're subbing on this team. So then you have to really police a lot of different things when you go into what we try to govern or police, if you will, as an industry on what. I think that falls back mainly on the parent to what they feel like their kid is physically capable of doing, because they could also play, a guy on my co-ed team could play football Friday night, you know, or football Saturday morning on a JV team, and then come back to a competition
I'm
as
talking
well.
particularly about cheer routines only. Individuals, that's a parent's responsibility as far as I'm concerned. The kid needs, like, I know my child's going to do some, try to get some scholarship money this year, and that's my call. That should not be a coach's call.
I really do see benefit, at least in my gym, in some level of crossing over. I have some athletes who are my best level 2 flyers, but they have some level 3 tumbling, but they're not going to be able to fly level 3, just using this as an example. But they might be really valuable bases on a level 3 team. So really allowing them to develop both the skill sets, I really see helps them in the long run to, you know, for the rest of their career. On the other side, I do see some kids who, you know, their mom, if it was up to them, they'd be on every team in the gym. No, my daughter wants to be on all these teams. Well, it's hard sometimes to explain to them why, you know, they may get burned out or they may not be able to do that. So having a limit on the number of teams you're able to do, I can see how that could be helpful as well.
It would make sense to limit the amount of levels it takes to crossover, which would cover the whole sandbagging issue. But then you have the small gym that only has 2 teams, and in that case, it's not necessarily a sandbagging issue. So if you're trying to affect a certain negative quality of it, you're also affecting the flip side. So that's the whole problem with all the rules. And every time you set one, and every side you go down, there's always 2 sides.
The ripple effect.
If they limited crossovers, because you're not doing it to sandbag, but a lot of teams are. They're putting 15 level 5 kids with 5 kids and going in level 3 to clean up against other level 3 teams, and then it's not fair. You know, it really isn't. And even though they're only throwing level 3 skills, a girl that has a full and double full can throw a beautiful tuck, usually.
Are they also winning their level 5 routines too? Because I guess to me too, when I hear the word sandbagging and things, I judge quite a bit, and I rarely see teams that put out full squad skills. So I mean, the whole sandbagging thing is kind of a tough call because.
I guess you really have to honestly, within the industry, define sandbagging and what is acceptable, because I mean, we can go off morals or ethics or whatever, or, you know, what you should be doing for integrity. But when it comes down to it, you may think that your opinion of my level 5 team, or pardon me, my level 4 team, is that we should be competing level 5 because the entire squad throws fulls. But because I don't want to go in open 5, and I feel confident in level 4, and we don't have any doubles, I'm going to stay in level 4 like if I was working in gymnastics. We may be working full in back outs, but I'm going to keep that athlete at a level 8 or level 9 until they're ready to move on. So it just depends on what you consider
But your
sandbagging.
parents will regulate that.
True.
The parents will.
To a degree.
You keep them down at a level 4 too long, they're going to go to.
But let me say everything he just said in a sentence that a coach said to me probably 5 years, because I'm telling you, every rule cycle crossovers come up. But to say what you said in a sentence a coach said to me 5 years ago, and it just rings true. He said, Les, he goes, it's my job as a coach to do whatever I can to put my kids in the best possible place to succeed. And I went, that does make sense.
It does help when and it's not a lot of crossers, but like we've got one this year. God, it's wonderful, but what am I supposed to do? She is an 8-year-old. She throws a pole. Our level 5 team is not an open 5, so we let her cross up to juniors so she gets to do something up there at least a little better. So it does help with kids like just happen to have great skills.
I agree that it ultimately comes down to ethics, and I think for those of us who have small gyms, I think we all kind of agree it's the big gyms that have the strong level 5 teams, and then they drop those kids to level 4, and then, I mean, I saw girls at a competition that changed uniforms 4 times. They were on 4 different teams. You know, and they clean sweep everybody. So I think that's where the issue comes in. It's not having a couple of girls cross over, it's when 80% of the team steps down. And then it's not fair to the kids that are truly level 2.
I think it just needs to probably end up going to some kind of percentage-based system, like the U.S. finals or other things where they do for alternates. The same kind of thing where 20% of your team or 30% of your team is allowed to be a crossover on one additional team or something like that, where it's going to be fair across the board. You know, you have 6 girls, but I know a team in our area that's going out with a youth 1 team with 6 girls because that's a level 1 team. That's what you have. They're not making a level 1 team with 5 more level 2 girls. Percentage makes it fair across the board, large or small.
People because I need to fill a team. Well, if they've got 12 kids, they don't need to max it out at 20 if they're being judged appropriately.
Right.
That could also affect that crossing over.
I will see small gyms cross down all their level 4 and 5 just to do the same thing. So I think it's kind of the same thing. I don't think it's a small gym or a large gym issue. I think it's an ethical issue. I think it's the ultimate question is what do we do in the best interest of the long term to legitimize the sport and keep it safe for the kids.